So aloha, all you Hawaii moneymakers out there. I have a beautiful, gorgeous guest today, a good friend that I met at a mastermind that we really shared and experienced strengths and hope with each other and got to know each other pretty deeply. And she's amazing, Miss Sarah Weaver here. She used to go by the traveling nomad, but I don't know if you're changing your terms to the midterm rental queen. I don't know. You could probably take that term out. She just wrote an amazing book, and we'll talk about the book and everything here shortly. And yeah, let's dive into it. We have a fun, great episode today. So let's get started. Just before we get started, I'd love it if you guys could subscribe below, and that way we can reach more people and just help people make their money work for them in any different way we can. Thank you guys, and let's get started in today's content.
Thank you so much for having me.
So aloha, everybody. So this is beautiful Sarah here, and super excited to talk to her today. Well, you want to give a little background about yourself and just maybe the roots of where you came from and where you're at today. I love your story and actually where you led into where you are today. It's really a big jump, actually. People are here.
Thank you. Yeah, it really is. I grew up in Kansas City. I grew up in the suburbs of Kansas City. For anyone that's not from the Midwest, no, I did not grow up on a farm. I tell people I travel a lot, as you mentioned. And when I'm abroad, I tell people that I grew up in one of those movies, like American movie with like the white picket fence and the cheerleaders and the football players and a pretty normal upbringing. Financially, my parents were blue collar. They both work. My mom owns a cleaning business. She cleans houses. My dad's always worked in the construction industry. And so I always grew up looking at my friends' parents thinking, man, it would be really nice to have the things that they have. I was less interested in their big houses and their fancy cars, and I just wanted to go on their really cool vacations. So no surprise that I ended up growing up and choosing to spend a lot of my time traveling.
But you're skipping over a lot there, but Sarah has she's accumulated a lot of B&B's and midterm rentals. She just wrote an amazing book on midterm rentals, but she's missing the part where she has now changed her whole life, where she can live wherever she wants around the world because of her passive income, because of her rentals that she's accumulating and able to give that lifestyle that she can travel around the world. She does these amazing events that actually I've been wanting to go on, and you guys should message her if you want. She takes groups, you should share this, but you take groups of people with like-minded people, real estate people, people who are entrepreneurs, and goes to all around the world. You got a Guatemala trip, right, planned coming up. And it looks so fun because, as we were just saying earlier, doing anything with a group of people, on top of that, with like-minded individuals and entrepreneurs where you can feed and learn off each other. And you build that bond almost similar. Like, so me and Sarah were in a mastermind in Maui with branding guys, and I felt like we got really close really quickly, even though we spent, I don't know, 10 days, a week or 10 days together. I don't know what it was we spent together. It was like a friendship built fast
Yes.
and tightly. And it's hard to explain, right? How would you explain how we
I think what happens when you sign up for something like a mastermind or a trip is you're already putting yourself into a situation where you're set you throw your hands in the air. I don't know where we're going to be, what we're going to eat, what's going to be expected of me. And so you're already put in this little bit of a vulnerable state. And then in addition, we spent a good amount of money. Like I spent money getting there, the hotel, all these things. And so you're like, okay, I really need to get the most out of it. And so you're also kind of, I always like to think of it as up to bat. Like when you're a baseball analogy and you're on the mound, you're in position, you have the bat, you are like ready to give it your all because you want
yeah.
to hit a grand slam. And so when someone asks you about yourself, you're not just like, oh yeah, like I buy some real estate. You're like, yeah, this is what I'm doing. But more importantly, tell me about you because I'm here at the event trying to get a lot out of it. I want to learn. I walk into every conversation like I want to learn as much as I can. And so this beautiful thing happens. We create really deep friendships because we're not talking about, oh yeah, like I have two kids and here's their names. Do you want to see pictures of them? It's like, tell me about your goals. Like, where do you want to be in
Mm,
3 years? How did you get there? How did you finance that deal? We're asking questions that you wouldn't normally ask someone. You probably don't even ask this of people that you know really well.
yeah, so true. I just so it just keeps on winding in my head. Me and Sarah were in one of the private groups together, and we did this thing where we wrote a story about where we're at in when we're 26 years old, and I forget more of the content to it, but Sarah wrote this amazing story. Like she's amazing writer, first of all. So she killed it. And then we all like I wrote my best as I could, but I really felt like that moment together with her. I was like pouring my heart and soul into everything I was writing, even though I'm not a good writer. But I felt like she did, as well as our other group members. I think there's 4 of us in that particular group. Um, but it was like this really like moment of like vulnerability and weakness and um, relatability. I don't know, everything all up into one of who we are, And it was,
Yeah.
I remember in that moment, I was like ready to tear up and cry. It was very
I mean,
like,
Indar, I think you did tear up.
there's nothing wrong with that.
I know I did.
Yeah.
I think what was so cool about that moment was what we did is we sat down and we wrote a letter to ourselves
Mhm.
in 2026. And so it was so vivid. Like I could see myself in that moment. Like
Mhm.
what clothes am I wearing? Where do I live? What kind of conversations am I having with what kind of people? And I put myself in that moment. And then I wrote this letter. And thank you for the compliment about writing. I've always been a writer. Like I've always loved writing. Even in the third grade, we dressed up what we wanted to be when we grew up.
Mhm.
Everyone else dressed up as like doctors, or a lot of kids dress up as, football stars and basketball stars. And I had
Mhm.
a pencil behind my ear and a notebook. And so I've been a writer since I was little. And I think that it really came out in that moment that we all, regardless of our writing abilities, we all have the ability to picture a version of our life that's better than the one we have right now.
Yeah.
And no matter who you were or what your dreams are, or even the like dollar amount in your bank account, we all had this incredible vision of a really kick-ass life. And it was true for every person in our group. And we felt it. And we got emotional, because I think that's what you do as humans is you cheer for each other, especially when you're in this real estate community. We want everyone to win, because I think there's abundance. Like all of us can have the life that we want,
Yeah.
and then we can celebrate alongside one another.
Yeah. I find that in successful people, like-minded people that have, started making success in their life, they hadn't recognized there is abundance in life compared to I remember when I was coming up or struggling to be something. I didn't recognize the abundance. I was just too focused on, I guess, me or just trying to make it or survive or get my head above the water. I don't know what it was, but um, that's amazing. But let's talk more about midterm rentals or medium-term rentals, as you like to claim it, for people who don't know what that out is out there. And it's really been, I think, a booming. I mean, it's been around forever, but it's been really booming as of lately, maybe the last year to two. What is it, and how does it work, and how do you find maybe throw it out there to people who don't know?
Absolutely. This investing strategy has been, I mean, absolutely crucial to my success and my scalability the last couple of years. And so what a medium term rental is just like a short term rental. It's furnished. So you're buying a single family, a duplex, fourplex, doesn't matter what it is, and you're furnishing it. And what makes it different than a short term rental is that you're catering or targeting tenants or guests who are going to stay there 30 days or more. And so it's not short term, it's not 2 days, 3 days, it's 30 days. My average stay for my units is 92 days. So they're staying 3 months in total. And it's fantastic for a few reasons. The first is that a lot of municipalities are cracking down on short term rentals.
Mhm.
Obviously, you're coming out of Hawaii. I don't know all of the islands regulations, but I know Maui, they don't allow anything shorter than six
Yeah,
months. And
yeah.
so in that case, that would be a long medium term rental,
Yeah.
but still a medium term rental. They would cater to maybe someone there for work for 6 months, or just any brilliant person that wants to live in Hawaii for 6 months. And they would offer a furnished rental to them. Even in small towns, there is a suburb outside of St. Louis called University City, Missouri. Even they don't allow short term rentals. So these short term regulations are not just for big cities or vacation hotspots like Hawaii. There's places and municipalities all over the United States that are saying, hey, no more short term rentals. And so, one of the ways as investors that we can kind of skirt around that regulation or still abide by the law is still have furnished rentals, but then
Mhm.
cater to people who would want to stay there 30 days or more. So,
Yeah.
in my units, they're mostly traveling nurses. I bought properties that are near hospitals, and I cater to traveling nurses. So, traveling nurses come, they sign a 13-week contract at the hospital, they need somewhere to live. And so they live in my units.
What kind of sites do you use? You want to talk about some of the sites you list on? Because we all know about Airbnb and VRBO, but is there furnished finders? Do you use? I'm throwing it out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I list my units. I try to make everything easy. You guys, like if I can find the easy way to do something, that's what I'm gonna do.
Mm.
So I do list on Airbnb. As of right now, I'm getting about 70% of my tenants through Airbnb,
Oh, really?
which
Not
I
more furnished finders. Well, I would thought would be furnished finders. Well.
It was a year ago in 2021. It was the opposite. I was getting about 80% of my tenants through Furnish Finder and
Mm,
20% through Airbnb. But I've switched. It has since changed, and now I'm
mm,
getting more through Airbnb. I do have my units listed on a site called Furnish Finder. That's where
mm,
most traveling nurses are looking for furnished rentals. But I want to make sure it's not just traveling nurses. You could buy a 3 bedroom, 2 bath home and then make connections with insurance companies. And then anyone that's displaced or not able to live in their home, whether it be flood or fire or what might it be, they would then be able to rent your house and
mm.
they pay a premium. There's also other seasonal workers. Maybe you're near Amazon warehouse and people that are there need a furnished place to stay. There's interns, there's doctors, there's people visiting their family. So many different
How do you
reasons.
comp it? How do you comp it? So I'm in my head, I actually have a Waikiki Airbnb that's not legal Airbnb, but it could do 30 days or more. But for it to work for me, it has to be like 4 grand a month, and I couldn't make it work because I was just looking on furnish finders. How am I? Should I look elsewhere to comp it to figure out what it could? How would you comp
Yeah.
some of yours?
Yeah, great question. There's two things you want to do. You first want to look on AirDNA and see what they have for longer stays.
I never
The
used them for
second,
longer. I use them for Airbnbs, but I've never thought to use them for longer stuff. Huh, that's a good. I
yep,
do use them. Yeah.
it's not going to be as helpful.
Sure.
Unfortunately, Furnish Finder does not have as much aggregated data as AirDNA. However, I do use Furnish Finder. So if you go to furnishfinder.com/stats, STATS,
Mm,
then you can look up stats for your area. And then after you have that information, you want to go into the site as a guest and
mhm.
look what is in my area, what are
Sure.
people paying, and then you know what I do? I actually reach out to the other hosts in the area. And I
Mm,
say, hey, I see you have a unit listed on the other side of the island. It says it's listed for 4,500. Are you able to get that? Just curious.
mm,
And just like anything in sales, you have to message, 30 people to get someone to respond.
yeah.
But I have had hosts give me really useful information, letting me know, yep, in the summer we're super busy, but in the winter we slow down or whatever it might be. I'm making the extra effort reaching out to other hosts through Furnish Finder.
Mm. Oh, that's great. Because I have an Airbnb. We're listed it actually for sale, but I would like to keep it as a midterm rental because it's so hot and sexy right now, and I want to keep as much as I can possibly, but compared to
Do you have it
before,
listed on Furnish Finder?
I do not. I just have it listed for sale actually. I
So for
Yeah,
$99, you can list it on Furnish Finder.
to see.
I'll share my link with you and the listeners of my listings, so you can see how I list them, what my listing description looks like, and you can list it on Furnish Finder. It's $99. It'd be a really
Mm-mm.
great investment, especially if you want to keep it. And so that's what I would do.
Hmm. That's interesting. I think it's a great market. And we have a lot of traveling nurses here in Hawaii. And I've even heard of, I had an investor come and she's a United, 30-year United flight attendant. And she told me about, they do these, they're called hot pads. I don't know if you heard about, they're called hot pads and cold pads or whatever. It's when uh, somebody from United, their base is in, say, LAX, and they live in Hawaii, and they got to go to LA, but they got to stay maybe 1 or 2 days before their actual trip, or in between their flights, where the hotel airlines doesn't pay. They need a place to stay, and they all share a condo or a place. And I thought of that idea here, and was wanting to do it. I heard some great things they don't have here in Hawaii, any of those kind of stuff. So um, I love the idea of taking and making, use of a place a lot more than just a single family rental, or when it's not Airbnb, what is the workaround for Airbnb? And
Yeah. And I think what's important is that we talk about the numbers. And so like
mm,
why would I not just
yes.
do long-term rentals? And so the numbers on a one bedroom, one bath in Omaha, Nebraska, I rent it long-term for $830. I think
Mm,
it's
mm,
850 with a pet fee. And then that same unit size, actually the unit right below it in a fourplex, I'm able to furnish it and then rent it for $1,875.
$1,000 more, yeah.
And
That's
so
amazing. Yeah.
that's my why. Like that's why I like to do it. Another great example is I have a friend, she just bought a house. Actually, it's a fantastic deal. She bought it for 199, so just
Mm,
basically 200,000. She put about 14,000 into it for renovation,
mm.
another 8,000 for furnishing, and she's renting it using insurance companies, and she's renting it for $5,600.
Jeez, that's
Yeah,
amazing. Is that a little
her
house?
yeah, it's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath. Her PITI, principal interest taxes and insurance, is $1,300 a month. And she's
Wow,
renting it for 5,600.
that's amazing. That is
So
so awesome.
that, you guys,
That's a,
that is why medium term rental. And so I'd love it if you guys picked up my book. It's called 30-Day Stay, a real estate investor's guide to mastering the medium term rental. And I think it's really important that we talk about this is a lot of work. Like long
mhm.
term rentals can be sit it and forget it. But if you're choosing to do medium term rentals, you have to furnish it, you have to manage it, you have to communicate with your guests, communicate with cleaners. But I love them because it allowed me to hit financial independence so much faster.
Let's talk about some of those people are scared of dealing with. So one, furnishing it, that's another 3 grand cost, 3 to 5 grand, depending on the size of your house. We don't have an IKEA, but you guys have IKEA in the mainland. So, you can furnish something pretty cost effectively. So I backed that out of my cost. Okay, that's going to cost me 3 grand. When am I going to recoup that? And then Sarah didn't mention earlier, but she's a beast at automation and using VA assistants, as we have in our Airbnbs as well, where somebody else is basically managing them, and managing the platform, talking to guests and communicating with the guest, and also the cleaning too. So, Sarah didn't talk about it earlier, but she's got a bunch of VAs, right, helping you with a lot of that kind of stuff, right? Overseeing. What do you?
Yeah, my lifestyle is possible because I hired. And so I'm managing 19 units in 4 different states. I own all of them. They're all my units. And I travel full time. So I am sitting in Kansas City this week because of the Christmas holiday. And then I fly to Guatemala. After Guatemala, I fly to Santiago, Chile, and then Mendoza. And then I'm going to Africa and Italy and Thailand. And I'm able to do all of this because I've put in systems where when their cleaner needs to be notified that there's a new booking, that's automated through a
Mhm,
site called Hospitable.
mhm,
When there's a maintenance request, my tenants either message me through Airbnb or apartments.com or Avail. And then that goes to my operations manager. And my operations manager goes to the vendor list, which is a list of vendors that, our plumber, our handyman, everyone. And she's handling all of that without me.
mhm,
And so even 9 months ago, that wasn't happening. Like things were going to my cell phone no matter where I was or where I was hiking or what I was doing. And I realized, Indar, that that's just like not the life I that's not why I bought real estate. And so it was cool that I was abroad. Like I could post on Instagram, look, I'm here. But the reality was I was like talking to a plumber on a mountaintop.
I love how you use Avail. So I use Avail too to manage all our rentals, but we don't use it much for the communication. I should look into that more. So you have the
Yes, you should
renters
have your
go,
exactly. Have
yeah.
all of your tenants do tenant maintenance requests through Avail,
Hmm.
because then it's all on record. If they come back and say, "Oh, they never fixed this plumbing issue," well, you never told me it was an issue, or it's if they did, it's all documented.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
have everything documented through there.
Oh, I like that. I like that. We've been using Avail to screen our tenants and so forth. We just started using it actually. I like it. But I like taking yourself out of it all and having a good team in place to help, manage it all and to take less of the headaches of managing it, because people don't realize there is a lot of calls. There's a lot of stupid calls. More so, I have Airbnbs, and when I was used to be managing myself, the key's not opening or the lockbox on, did you try the code? Did you flip the turn? I had one time, did you turn the knob? Oh, I forgot to turn the knob. You get it all.
This is how you open a door.
I literally had it. She like turned the key and she like didn't turn the lock on it after or something. And I was like, did you try and turn the knob? And she but you're gonna get it all. And I couldn't figure it out actually at first, because I was like, the keys, like it's all, I've since went to keypads and got rid of everything. But um all those little dummy proof everything, you're constantly trying to dummy proof them, and sending them as much information as you possibly can step by step, is so they
And
have.
that takes so much time. Like I hope that people realize like there's been a lot of time and money spent setting up all of the
Mhm.
automated messaging, hospitable networking, and finding the cleaners. Heck,
Yeah.
even finding my employees. Like there's a
Hmm.
lot of time that goes into this, and it's worth every minute
Yeah.
because now I went on vacation for the first time. Like I can have my phone on silence for 5 hours at a time. Like it
Hmm.
is so worth it.
Yeah. You don't, you get probably a lot of less maintenance requests too, because they're they're successful people. A lot of times I'm thinking that they're staying in these places, they're doctors or they're nurses or professionals in a general, so they're not throwing a party and having a raging like some of the young kids maybe. These
That's why
are.
I love that's why I love the traveling nurses because sometimes my cleaner will go in there after someone stayed for 3 months and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, Sarah, it doesn't even look like they ever cooked. Like the
Mhm.
oven was never used." And I
Mhm.
said, "Yeah, because they're exhausted. Like
Mhm.
they're working, a 12-hour shift and then they're
Mhm.
coming home.
Mhm.
And my properties are in the Midwest, so it's not that expensive to eat out in Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
And so they probably didn't cook. And so there's a
Yeah.
lot less wear and tear on the unit.
Mhm. 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 Yeah. The amount of foot traffic you get in Airbnbs. I have one of my Airbnbs. People were just using it to throw parties. I literally had to put on there, do not throw parties, and go put the decibel meter noise thing in there. And because it was out of town and it was away, it was during COVID and no one could do anything. So they would go use my Airbnb to throw parties. And, but people are people. Um,
Should we go have a party there?
yeah. My wife's actually going to today. They're going to stay out there today with her family in town. So benefit of owning some Airbnbs.
Exactly.
But that's so. What other states are you in? You're in Nebraska, of course. What other states are you in?
I own in Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, and Missouri. So, just as beautiful and vacation worthy as Hawaii.
Yes, very close. No, I love those states actually. They're actually better rental states than here, because even the price where we buy a house here in Hawaii, we probably rent for the same amount as Nebraska. So Hawaii is generally not a good market, but I had to change my mindset for Hawaii. For anyone out there who thinks you can't find good deals in Hawaii, you can. It all starts with your mindset. Because I used to tell myself that, hey, twice too expensive. I couldn't find good rentals, and it all starts with your mindset, So as we go through these groups together to increase and better our mindset and be around like-minded people. So where do you see this industry of midterm rentals going? Because I see the popularity and I see more and more people doing them or using them. Do you see it becoming a bigger bigger thing than what it is, and more even maybe a better website than Furnish Finders, or Airbnb kind of took over in a sense too, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of room for technology companies to come in and improve our process and our systems. So if you are a tech person and you're thinking about starting a company, I definitely think the real estate space has a lot of room for improvements. As far as owning medium-term rentals, here's what I tell investors is if you want to turn your long-term rental or even your short-term rental that you already own into a medium-term rental, it's
Mhm,
likely the right move. Obviously, the numbers need to make sense.
mhm,
There are parts, actually, just analyzed a property in Missouri, and it didn't make sense as a medium term rental. Once
mhm,
you paid utilities and snow removal, and it just wasn't going to be able to rent for that high
mhm.
comparatively to long term rental. You'd cash flow more. But was it worth it? We decided it wasn't.
How,
And so
how do you
medium term is
some of the numbers, back to numbers, vacancies? What do you use 5 or 10%, or you still do you take that out? Because how do you factor vacancies? Because coming as
I'm
single
factoring
family rentals, you don't have as much vacancies.
So what
Right.
I'm doing is I'm doing 8%. So 8% is 1 month every year. And
Mm,
that's if you buy a duplex, that means that both units are vacant for the year. And that just doesn't happen. When I have a tenant move out, I typically have another tenant moving in that same day
lined up.
or within 2 days. And
Mm,
so I'm not even seeing an entire week vacancy in between my medium term tenants. Um, but a month would be 1 week every quarter.
mm,
So,
mm,
like I told you guys, my tenants stay 90 days. So, even if I had a week vacant in every unit, that
mm.
still would be 8%. And I'm beating that every single year.
You're just factoring that to analyze a deal to make sure a deal looks good. So anyone listening out there, we do scenarios for the worst case. We want to factor in. A lot of people who analyze rentals just think, oh, my mortgage is this much, and I'm making this much rent, and they're not thinking about. So again, guys, there's taxes, insurance, capital expenditures, vacancies, big things that capital expenditures a lot of people leave out, and that's just wear and tear of units of maintenance and things that may happen, of it all. And a lot of people don't factor that in sometimes. Of I hear it all the time. Oh, I get my mortgage is only $2,000 and I'm renting for 2,200. It's a great rental, right? I'm like, that doesn't sound too good. So all the other costs that you could occur. You're just expecting for worst case, of course. So if it does better, more money in your pocket, of course. But analyzing the deal that's really critical to make sure it works. And I like how you talked about to go on to the stats on the Furnish Finder site and see what it is. I just looked around as a guest one time, and that was about as all that I did. But I want to look deeper into it and to
Mhm.
really get to know.
Well, and it's a listing site. It's not a booking site. So if you list it, I told you it costs $99 for the whole year. Someone's not going to be able to book your place tomorrow because it's a listing site. And so they're going to reach out to you. They have to jump through some hoops. So there's no harm in going ahead and putting it available for rent. Someone doesn't have the ability to just book it and move in
Mm,
tomorrow like they would on
mm,
Airbnb. And so I really encourage you guys go ahead and list your property on Furnish Finder and see what kind of inquiries you can get.
see what you get. Yeah, it's a big question. My numbers don't match what I looked for this small. It's a small 300 square foot unit in Waikiki, and furnished finders were only showing like maybe 2 to 3 grand. But for me to make it work, I used the 1% rule quickly. It's like a $4,000 a month. I would have to make it work. Um, so I was just gonna sell it and get out of it. It was a flip actually. It was a
Yeah.
flip, but I always want to try to finagle. If I can keep anything I possibly can, I'll keep it. If I can meet my 1% rule real quickly, And
Well, do you need to meet the 1% rule? Like, what are your cost of keeping it? Like, what's your monthly payment if you keep that unit?
it's right on. It's a hard money loan right now. We bought it all in about. I think we're all in about 400,000. So just quickly.
And can you refinance it into a conventional loan or a commercial loan?
Yeah, I could. I could. Yeah, definitely could. Not great rates right now, but I could refinance it later again and again. But I don't know if I can get. I think I would have to get the 4 grand a month ish plus maintenance fees. There's maintenance fees at the property too.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I'm gonna go look at it again because I
Yeah,
was
list it.
just. I think I am. I'll tell the girls to put it up and just to see what I'll do. Waikiki is very desirable, so no parking. That's a very chunk thing. But you can come stay.
Sounds good. I'll come be your tester.
Yeah, you never did come in the last time. We have several other legal Airbnbs in Waikiki. So
Yeah, I do
um,
need to. I need to come out
eh,
there. Actually, speaking of travel, you need to come on my next trip.
I
So
do want to come
I'm excited. I don't know when this episode's going to air, but I actually have not
next week.
announced this to my. Okay, perfect. I
Mm.
This will be the first anyone's hearing it. I am announcing my next investor trip. It will be an 8-day African safari in
Wow,
Tanzania.
I would love to see that. Are you going to see the
I
animals
think
and so forth? See the
day
animals? Yeah,
one, you
yeah.
get up close and personal. You should be able to see all the big five. So we're talking elephants and rhinos and
Mm,
lions.
that'd be
And
cool.
then we're staying at really nice places. Like we will be sipping wine in our infinity pool and really getting to know one another because everyone coming is a real estate investor.
Mm,
And so what's really important to me with these trips, my company Invested Adventures, we invite real estate investors on epic adventures. So I want to take people on a bucket list trip like a safari
hmm.
and you could enjoy it alongside real estate investors. And so while there's no presentations or speakers or classroom time, we can't help ourselves. We'll be in the car for some time on some of these what they call game excursions looking
Hmm.
for the animals. And of course, we'll talk about cost segregation and
Yes,
taxes and
it's fun stuff.
uh, the
Yeah,
economy and yeah, stuff that honestly we can't stop talking about. And so
yeah.
would love to have you come. It's going to be a pretty small group. There's going to be 11 of us.
You got people already lined up? Some people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had someone audit the website, a friend of mine. I was like, "Hey, what do you think of this? Like, is there any questions? I want to make sure it's really clear." And he bought a ticket.
Oh, jeez.
And then there's an extra like a optional adventure. So what we'll do is we'll do 8 days. So you leave on a Saturday, you come home the next Sunday. So for
Mm.
anyone still in a W-2, you only need to take 5 days off work. And then if you want to stay, we're going to have a day of rest. And then we're going to do an 8-day Mount Kilimanjaro hike.
Wow, that would be amazing too. Wow, so back to back, that'd be fun.
And all three people that have signed up, again, before I announced it, they signed up for both. And so I thought people, would need to choose one or the other, but so far everyone's so stoked.
Mm.
They are doing both the safari and Kili.
Is you when you sign up on site, you everything's covered, right? You just got to get your flights to get there, right? Basically, show up.
Everything.
Basically, yeah,
I will pick you up on the tarmac and everything is done for you. And the best
yeah,
part is that we plan everything for you.
yeah,
And so most of the people that are coming to these, they run businesses, they run real estate portfolios. We're really busy.
yeah,
And so to plan an 8-day safari or even
yep,
an 8-day Kilimanjaro hike is a lot of work. And
yeah.
so we took that away. We did all of that for you. And we're curating really kick-ass people to do it
You're
alongside of.
you're doing ahead of time, honestly. So a lot of investors that I know, like friends like me, we do everything like last minute. I'm going to Alaska actually on Sunday to go skiing. I'm like booking and doing everything like last minute because we get so busy with work and trying to book everything. We're I'm bad at some of that time, so I
Oh
wait
yeah,
last
I'm laughing, but I actually just bought a
minute.
flight for 3 days from now, and so I'm the exact same way for my own travel. I don't
Yeah,
have accommodation booked when I get there
yeah.
for this trip I'm doing in 3 days. But yes, for my investor trip with Invested Adventures, not only is it planned, but it's planned by the best in the business. So the on the ground team, they've been doing this for 10 years.
Mm,
They're highly rated. I have friends that have done the trip through them, and my friends are really well traveled, like been to
mm.
more than 50 countries, and they said it's top 5 travel experience of their life.
Wow, I really want to go. I really actually been wanting to go to Africa and see the animals, and I love to go. Is there kids? No kids, right? Or kids? I would have to
No,
find a
not on this
sitter.
trip.
Yeah, I think my kids are too small anyway. But that's amazing. I'm gonna have to talk to my
You
wife
should
about it.
come.
I really, really want.
Two of the three people signed up are a couple, and so I'd love it if you and your wife came. It'd be really, really
When
cool.
what's it? When is it? What month?
June 3rd to the 11th is the safari, or sorry, 4th to the 11th,
Mm,
and then the
June.
whatever that is, June, yep, 13th to the 20th. So June 2023.
Gotta ask my wife. We got the kids, so we always gotta figure out what the kids first. My old single self would be a lot easier, but now we have the kids. We have to plan everything. It's amazing. Or tell people where they can sign up and see if anyone wants to go look.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys are interested, go to sarahdweaver.com and you will see everything on there for our events.
Yeah.
This is the only event that is going to be announced next week. But I do events all year. So I actually have 4 events in January, February, and March, and they all sold out within a week. And
Wow.
so if you guys are interested, definitely reach out. You
That's a
can
lot
find
of
me.
that's a lot of events.
It is a lot. And it's been really amazing because it's not just the event. Like the events are cool. I mean, hello, who doesn't want to see
Yeah.
lions and giraffes and
Yeah.
rhinos? And actually, one thing I forgot is we're gonna go to Serengeti and the Great Migration. So there's 2 million wildebeest that
Oh, really? That's
migrate
the
during
same
this
time.
time,
Yeah, yeah.
same time. And so obviously it's nature, it's the wild. I can't guarantee you guys are gonna see it. However, it's a really, really high chance that we're going to be in the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk to my wife. Yeah, I got my wheel spinning. I want to get on the phone. Let's see.
Amazing.
That's amazing. But I love these kind of events, and that's amazing to find these kind of high level groups of people. And that's the other thing. These are high level people. I mean,
Yes.
to be able to hang around, they're not cheap for the normal people. I mean, I don't say they're expensive, but these are high level people to be around and
Yeah,
to share.
it's an investment. Like it's an
Yeah,
investment of your time, it's an
yeah,
investment of your money. And so you want to make sure that you're doing it with people that you're going to be really excited to hang out with.
yeah. That's what I'm
And so
saying.
that's what I
I'm saying.
really
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I
you
really
attract
love.
that. You attract that, so people don't realize that it's not like. I think you attract that naturally with who you are and your network of people, just naturally.
Well,
And
well, thank you. And
yeah.
I think epic adventures do that. Like there's not very many boring people that want to go on an 8-day African safari. And so there's also kind of a great thing about the epic event is that they attract people like that.
Let's go into we have this segment where you do investor insights, and we have a question. And so the question is, what is the most important thing you can keep in mind when the market gets crazy like it is now? This is from Rich. So I guess we're talking about the market, and everyone's always talking about the market.
Yeah,
What's the most important
absolutely.
thing to keep in mind at this point? Any tidbits?
I think it's really important with the way that the economy is right now is that just like anytime, you have to buy a good deal. And so I always ask myself, do I want this property in my portfolio? And even if I was an investor that owned no rentals or one rental or two rentals, I would always ask myself that in that way
Mm,
because I think it puts you in a mindset that you're going to buy rental properties regardless, right? Like we know we're going to buy rentals. And so I always ask, do I want this property in my portfolio? So I look at things like the age of the property, the state of the property. What are the systems? Like, is the furnace going to go out next year? Okay, well, that's going to cost me. What kind of tenants is this going to attract? Are they the type of tenants that I want to manage? Because I still self manage all 19 units. So when
Yeah,
I ask
yeah.
the question, is this a property I want in my portfolio? It puts me in the mindset of, okay, what's the strategy with this property? Am I going to do a long-term rental, a medium-term rental, a short-term rental? Am I going to flip it? Am I going to wholesale it? Am I going to move into it and house hack it or do the live-in flip? I'm thinking of all of these different ways to make this a deal.
Mhm.
And if it's a deal that I want in my portfolio, then I buy it. If it doesn't check those boxes, or I'm like, oh, I'm just like, I think it's going to be a money pit, then
Mm,
I run the numbers backwards and forwards. And at the end of the day, I'm always making my decision based on the numbers.
mm. Yeah, you got to take the emotions out of it, and
Hmm.
we're all guilty of it. Especially when I was new, I would be so emotional about, oh, I love this house, and I want to see myself living in it, but the numbers didn't work, and you'd force it sometimes. And in this market right now, you can't force anything. You
No.
have to trust the numbers. And we were just looking at this huge flip actually ourselves, and I loved it. It was on the ocean, huge party deck. I wanted to live in the house. It was like a $2.4 million house, but the numbers were just too tight. And so that I think is the answer to this market. The
Uh-huh.
question about this market is the numbers don't work. If it doesn't work as you're trying to force it and trying to finagle it, um, that's when it's probably not a good deal, because that's when it is. It's when it's on the cusp of, is this a good deal or not? Am I, you're trying to like squint, and if I move this there and do that there, and you know, you're trying to force it to be a good deal, and that's the ones you can get in trouble,
Yeah.
to so I guess that would be the answer, is the numbers. It's if the numbers don't work, don't do the deal, and take emotions out, yeah, of it
And
all.
the reality is that the numbers aren't as exciting as they are when we were getting 3.9% interest. That's just
Sure.
math, you guys.
Yeah.
And so I'm not as excited about cash flow that I'm seeing right now when I'm analyzing long-term rentals. So that's why I'm really turned on to the medium-term rental. What
Mhm.
happens if I furnish it? What happens to the rent then? Am I going to get increased cash flow? Because I'm a cash flow investor. I'm buying things because I need them and want them to cash flow.
Mhm.
And when you're buying things at 7.5% interest rate, that's going to eat into your cash flow. So again, I like asking a question, do I want this property in my portfolio? Because it also tells me I'm probably going to own this property for the next 5 to 10 years, and rates will go down at some point. And when they
Mhm.
do, I'm going to refinance. And so that will ideally help my cash flow. But until then, do I want the cash flow that it's producing right now when I'm having to pay 7%? And the answer is still yes. Like I'm still looking at properties that I want to purchase.
So true. I love I'm thinking about like moving even some of my properties, single family, into medium term rentals. Just for the better cash flow. You're gonna make more money. We do this business to make money, guys. I know people want to think differently, but it's a job. We do it to make money. So how do we make the best use of this property to make money? So
Mhm.
treat it like a business, treat it like a job, as we're discussing. I think a lot of people don't oftentimes do that. They're not analyze, oh, my uncle, he'll be there and you won't have to worry about him, and even though we got to pay less or get less rent, it's fine. And you know it's not, you got to treat it like a business. It's a business. And I think often
And it's
people
and it's a
don't.
great business. Like I have been able to be my own boss, make my
Mhm.
own schedule, provide safe, beautiful housing to people. I've hired countless people and I'm having so much fun. And so I feel really, really lucky to be in the real estate industry.
That's amazing. I love how you said you're having so much fun about it. The last part, so deal of the week. Is there any kind of deal or any kind of funds, or well, I guess you talked about your adventure trip coming up, but is there any kind of deal or funds or thing you want to talk about, or any money
Yeah,
raising and stuff? Yeah.
if anyone's interested in adding a medium term rental to their portfolio, please reach out. I have built relationships with investor-friendly agents all over the country. I do everything remote. So the last property I bought, I was in Mexico. Before that, I was in New Zealand. Before that, I was in Brazil. Like I'm doing
Mm,
everything long distance. And so you can too. Reach out to me. You guys have my website. My Instagram is also Sarah D. Weaver. My website, sarahdweaver.com. Reach out to me. I'd love to connect you to investor-friendly agents. And then I also own a company called Aria Design Services, and we can furnish the unit for you.
mm,
So if taking off work or flying to the mainland to furnish a duplex in Iowa is not an option for you, you can hire us and we'll do it for you.
mm. That's amazing. It's good to know, guys. So anyone interested in making their, Airbnb or even Airbnb, you could furnish too as well, or
Yeah.
midterm rental. Sarah can do it for you, which is honestly, it's fun and all for when you first do it one time, but it's not that fun when you're doing it three, four, five, six, seven times later.
It's isn't
Yeah,
that the truth?
yeah.
It
It's
loses its novelty real quick.
yeah, it's fun going to pick out cute, fancy stuff, but after a while, it's not that fun putting together a bed or putting together a dresser and all that kind of stuff.
I couldn't
Um,
I couldn't agree more.
I think we're laughing because we both have done
Oh yeah, I've
it.
done, I mean, this year we've furnished 37 units in 12 states.
That's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you kind of cater towards that person, what they designs they like or so, or just go for it.
Yeah, some of my clients want to be a part of the design process, and
Yeah.
they have opinions and preferences, and some are like, I don't know or I don't care.
Don't
That's
care.
why I'm
Just
hiring you.
just
And
get
and
it
we can
furnished.
exactly, and
Yeah.
we can cater to both types of clients.
Oh, that's interesting. I might have to use you for some stuff. I'm getting my wheels turning here. Um,
Sounds good.
but I feel like we've taken a lot of your time. So again, so where everyone could find you at is Sarah D Weaver, excuse me, right? At
Yep,
.com.
correct.
And what's your social handles? Your social media?
It's
All
same
set.
thing. Everything is Sarah D. Weaver. So if you look up SarahDweaver, you can find me on the internet and reach out. I really like hearing from you guys. I'd love to help. And if you need adventure in your life, then please come on our next trip.
Yes, it's so fun. It's so fun. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you. I hope you guys got a great hour of your time out of this podcast and this YouTube and blah blah blah. It's gonna go everywhere. And please comment and like and ask questions, guys. I really recommend everyone to ask questions out there. We were in your shoes at one time and we still have a ton of questions, and you don't get any smarter if you don't ask questions. So ask questions. It doesn't hurt. There's no such a thing as a bad question. So, ask questions. That's how we're here to better each other. So thank you guys all for listening, and aloha, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.